When many people think of Babe Ruth, they think of one of the greatest baseball players of all time. They think of that famous game where he walked up to the plate and he pointed his bat over the outfield wall, calling that he was getting ready to hit a home run. They remember that on the very next pitch, he hit that home run. He's one of the most epic athletes of all time. But what many people don't know about Babe Ruth is that as a young boy, he was considered a delinquent. Both of his parents were very hardworking and didn't really take care of him much. And Babe Ruth, as a kid, got into a lot of trouble. In fact, he got into so much trouble, his parents realized they needed to send him to a Catholic prep school. So they sent him to a very strict school where it was like an academy. He stayed there, he ate there, and he had a pretty hard time fitting in there at first. The rules were pretty harsh and the punishments were very strict, and he just did not have a good time. But his luck turned when one of the brothers there, Brother Matthias, took a liking to Babe Ruth. In fact, he started reaching out to Babe and playing baseball with him. And Babe took to baseball like a fish to water. He was so good. And Brother Matthias realized, like, hey, this is something that could help pull Babe out of that troubled path he's running down. And Brother Matthias started to spend countless hours with Babe, pitching with him, batting with him, fielding with him. Now, Brother Matthias was a good man. He was a holy man who spent a lot of time praying, but he loved baseball, and he was a great athlete. He was big and strong, and if he wasn't a monk, he would have been probably playing with the pros. Well, he taught Babe everything he knew, and as Babe grew up in that school, he became an amazing baseball player. In fact, Brother Matthias reached out to Jack Dunn, the owner of the Baltimore baseball team at that time, and said, Jack, you got to come see this kid. And Jack came and he watched Babe Ruth play for 1 hour. And then he said, kid, you're coming to the big leagues. He offered him a contract. Now, Babe was only 19 years old, and he couldn't play Major League Baseball unless Jack Dunn, the owner, became his legal guardian. So Jack went through the legal process, became his legal guardian, and Babe played his first game in the major leagues. When all the other players saw this fresh-faced 19-year-old kid, they said, here's Jack's new Babe. And that's how Babe Ruth got his name. See, his real name was George. Everyone called him George. But after that, they changed it to Babe. Babe went on to hit more home runs than anyone else. He was a phenomenal pitcher, a great outfielder, and one of the most legendary baseball players of all time. His record stood for years and years and years. And I can't help but wonder where George would have ended up without Brother Matthias. Would he have ever become Babe Ruth if an adult had looked at this troubled kid who got into trouble and said, you know what, I'm going to help him out? You see, many times when we look at history or the world around us, we see the successful people, and we're like, oh, how could I be like Babe Ruth? How could I be like Michael Jordan? How could I be like whoever your hero is? And what we don't always see is the person who is that person's hero. You see, Babe Ruth said that Brother Matthias was the greatest man I ever met. And even as he became very successful and very wealthy, he always had tons of respect for Brother Matthias. I don't know if you can be a record breaker, famous, legendary person, but I do know that you can be a Brother Matthias into somebody's life. They might be younger than you, they might be older than you. But God has put people in our lives, and he also puts a burden on our heart for certain people, an affection or a love for certain people. And when you feel that for someone, just know that's God saying, this is your Babe Ruth. This is someone that you can impact. So pour your love into them, pour your time into them. Give them what you've got. You might not be like Brother Matthias and have athletic skills to give to a kid, but you've got something. And if you spend some time with God, I know that He'll tell you what you have to give, and He'll point out who you have to give it to. You see, at the end of our lives, it's not going to matter how much money we made. It's not going to matter what cars we drove. It's not going to matter what trips we took. In the end of our lives, when we look back, what's going to matter are the people that we impacted, the people that we loved. And so today, my challenge is to be like Brother Matthias. Find a delinquent, bad kid named George and help him step into their destiny. Help them to become Babe Ruth. God bless.